I'm going to start recording for later. All right, so here we are. Let's make sure that the sound is working. It looks like it's working. I won't be able to tell until someone pops in and tells me, but it looks pretty good. Where is my chat window? Oh, right, because they changed the creator dashboard, so that is there now, and actually I don't need it to be quite so large. Great. So now I can watch chat and I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so first things first, today I have 76 followers as of earlier this week, and I'm going to be doing a giveaway once we hit 80. So hopefully that'll happen today. So what am I doing today? Well, I'm going to be going out of town pretty soon, and I have a very good friend that I'm going to be spending time with, and I'm making her a pumpkin. You know what's interesting? It says the session number up here is not going. I wonder why. It says I'm live. The other thing is I don't have music, and I hope that that's not too much of a distraction for people. If I have music, often Twitch blocks what I'm doing, and I don't want it to do that because I want to be able to upload these to YouTube. So anyway, I got my coffee, and I got my stuff here. I'm working on this pumpkin right now, and then I just put a bunch of stuff here to make it look a little bit more pretty. These are all yarns that I created, that I spun myself. Some of these are, so these three I purchased, but then these ones here I dyed myself. So that's pretty fun. So when we're talking about what to do for the giveaway, I always talk with whoever wins the giveaway what they want. And so I could make them something, either something small that's knitted or crocheted, but I could also, spin you a little mini skein of yarn, or dye something for you. So yeah. All right. So today what I'm working on is this pumpkin. I've got a giant jumbo skein of the Red Heart Super Saver and the color is actually pumpkin. So we're working with that. And I'm just going to push that there. And then I'm going to move this back slightly so that you can actually see what I'm doing. So this is a super easy pattern. It's mainly a bunch of half double crochets. So, but the trick is you're always half double crocheting into the third loop of the half double crochet on the row before. But it's a really nice pattern because it's super easy and it's quick. So you can make one of these in a day, or a couple days, because I started this yesterday. So I started working on this one last night and already got almost halfway through it, so it's pretty good. I wonder if you can hear what's going on in the background. The neighbors have something going on here. I don't know if they have, I don't know what they're doing. There's something running in the back. So I don't know if it's being picked up on my microphone or not, but it's kind of irritating. So anyway, so I'll just show you what this is like. You basically do on each row 24 half double crochets, and that's bounded on either side by a single crochet. So you just keep going essentially till you get to the point where you don't have that third loop. So like, I don't know if you can see right here, there isn't a third loop, it's just a regular single crochet, and then you just go in underneath that stitch and do another single crochet. And then I have this stitch marker to show me where the next round is going to start, and then you just you slip stitch into that, and then I'm going to move my marker to the next, what will be the next available stitch. So slip stitch into the next one, and then we're going to chain one, and then this marker is going to go into what will be on the next set, the next available stitch. And so that's it. So then you turn the work. So what's interesting about this is that you started with a magic loop to get the top of the pumpkin, but then we're essentially making these lines along the edge and going back and forth. So you could make a hat like this, but it also makes a really cool pumpkin. And the reason for that is when you half double crochet into the third loop, it makes these super nice lines that look like a pumpkin or a gourd. So that's what we're dealing with. So I slip stitched 2 to get set up for the next round, and then did a single stitch here, and then you go back to that first single crochet that we made on the row before, and then now you can see if I can show you. It's a bit upside down, but right here is the third loop of that half double crochet right there. And so we're going to go underneath that and put another half double crochet into that. So half double crochet is set up like a double crochet, but instead of pulling through 2 and then yarn overing and all that again, you just pull through all 3. Yep, and that's it. So gosh, I wonder what they're doing over there. So our neighbors, okay, so we moved here in, hold on, I'm going to change something real quick. I'm going to change these windows because I can't stand to have the Twitch window in front of my face because there is a delay. Hello. It is not doing what I want it to be doing. There. This is real time now. This over here we will enlarge so that I can see if anyone chats with me. Great. Perfect. Okay. What was I saying? So we moved to this house in June, and we saw that we had neighbors, and we were busy getting moved in and everything. And then when we were about ready to go over and introduce ourselves, they were gone. And they were gone for the rest of the summer. And they didn't come back until a few weeks ago. So now it just seems really awkward to go over there and introduce ourselves because we've been here for months, and it's just a little weird because we have no idea where they went. Maybe they were in Europe for the summer. I don't know. But yeah. You know, the other thing I'm wondering right now is if I should, I guess this is fine. I don't know if I should flip this so that my hands are at the bottom. I think that that's something that I can do. I think it's going to mess everything up though, isn't it? Hold on a second. Let's find out what happens when I do this. Flip vertically. Yeah, everything's backwards now. I don't like that. It does put my hands in the right place, but it makes everything else backwards. I don't like that, so. What I'll have to do is, we'll live with it. We will live with how my hands are. Anyway, so while they were gone in Europe or wherever it was that the neighbors were gone for the entire summer, they still had somebody come to do their lawn. And I think that's what I'm hearing now, but I don't understand why they would still have people come and do their lawn if they're here, unless they just always use a lawn service. I don't know. Point is, I have these neighbors now that I'm afraid to, not afraid, but it just feels too awkward to go over and introduce myself when they were gone all summer. But also, they haven't made any attempt to come over and introduce themselves to us either. In fact, nobody has. It's like we moved here and I don't know any of our neighbors. Why are we like this? Why can't we just get to know our neighbors? This makes me want to poke my head out the window and find out what the heck they're doing over there. It's like some sort of generator that's running constantly. La, la, la. So, anyway, with this pumpkin, super easy pattern. And then when you're done, when you do all of the rows, the vertical rows, I'm setting up the next row. You basically cinch the top and bottom, and then you go through, you stuff it and go through to give it the pumpkin shape. And then you use this cinnamon sticks to serve as the stem, and florist's wire to be the little vine that's still attached to the stem. And it just happened that the colors here are perfect. So it looks really good when it's done. And so I've done several of these now. I might do this one and then another one because this one's going to my friend. And I haven't made one for myself yet. So I would like to make a fall pumpkin for myself. And I have plenty of yarn. So we'll probably do that. But if anyone is interested in having me make you a fall pumpkin, it could be one of the things that we do for the giveaway. It's a little big. I could maybe do a smaller one. There are many pumpkin patterns out there on the internet, and this one is just my favorite. think it looks the best. I like it when you can embellish knitted or crocheted things with things that aren't purely crocheted or knitted. So I mean, I've seen plenty of pumpkins out there that have crocheted stems, for instance, or leaves or whatever, but I like that this one actually uses the cinnamon stick. Oops, come on. You know, another thing that I really would like to do is start combining crochet and knitting. And I have found precisely one pattern that does this. Like for instance, maybe you knit a top, but the yoke or the neck is crocheted. I think I found one pattern that does that, and it just turns out that things like Ravelry are not set up to show patterns that combine knitting and crocheting, and that's a shame, because I would like to find more things that combine those. So for instance, I really love crocheting lace. So just like this doily here, it was a lot of fun to make. So wouldn't it be cool to knit a sweater but then have this on the cuffs or on the base or something? It'd be super easy to join on. I guess if I want to see something like that, it's going to be a pattern that I have to make, which I just gave myself the idea of doing that. So I guess that's something I'm just going to have to do, is make my own sweater patterns with crocheted lace trimmings. Maybe do something like super vintage looking. Okay, so I'm at the end of the next row again. So then, again, you slip stitch into the next available stitch. Then I'm going to move my stitch marker and put it in my mouth. Slip stitch into the next stitch, chain one, and replace my marker. And you just keep doing this all the way around. So this pumpkin I'm making for my best friend Lisa. She's not on Twitter or Twitch, so she'll have no idea. But I'm going to be seeing her this weekend because we are both going to Minneapolis to the women's woodworking, or I think it's called the Women's Wood Shop. Where we are going to learn how to carve spoons. And she's treating this as a business trip because she is still up at Michigan Tech as a professor, and she is soon to be an associate professor because she submitted her tenure packet, and there's no way she's not getting tenure because she's brilliant. Anyway, so she is a professor of visual and performing arts. She's a sculptor. And so she's using this trip as an opportunity to add to her repertoire. And it's also an excuse for us to both hang out together because I don't get to see her much anymore since we moved. And it's about a 10-hour drive to get back up to the UP, so it's not like we can just go have lunch together. So I'm leaving on Friday, and then she's going to pick me up at the airport in Minneapolis. And we're going to hang out for a few days. And I'm going to take her this pumpkin. I mean, I could also wait to see her at Thanksgiving because we have had this tradition for the last several years where she and her husband come and spend Thanksgiving with us. And so they're going to do that again, even though now we're in Mason, 10 hours away. So they're coming down to Lark Farm. So I could give it to her then, but I just think it's, I don't know, something, it's more fun about giving it to her this weekend instead. Okay, I'm going to turn my, okay, one of the things that I don't like about this yarn, so this is just the typical Red Heart acrylic yarn, is that it splits really easily. And this crochet hook is just very, I don't know if you can see, it's very, come on, focus. Focus. It's very sharp at the end. I don't know if you could see that. It doesn't want to stay focused. Anyway, so it splits the plies of the yarn very, very easily, which is a little frustrating. And so I've tried to, develop different strategies for not doing that, and it's almost impossible. So almost every stitch I snag some fibers like there. I just did it. So you can't probably see it, but there's like a tiny, tiny little bit of fiber right there that I snagged. So, I mean, I could use a crochet hook that doesn't have quite such a sharp hook on it, but these are my favorite crochet hooks, so I don't wanna. And it's one of the things you have to deal with when you're using just cheap yarn. Don't get me wrong, I really appreciate Red Heart brand because it's super good yarn to use for projects like this where, I mean, nobody's going to be wearing it. The colors are really bright. There's often no dye lot, so you always know that the color you buy is going to be the same as every skein you purchased before. So that's fantastic. But it is 100% acrylic, and it's very stiff, and it's so it's really good for amigurumi. I have made hats and things out of Red Heart, but those things often aren't super nice. So I would suggest, if you're going to be making clothing, that you use wool. And if it's too expensive for you to buy wool yarn, then you can always learn how to spin your own yarn. So for instance, I bought 4 ounces. This is a merino with a touch of teaswater and some Angelina fibers. And I just spun it myself. And it's super soft. So I'm very excited because this is the same breed that my sheep are. So, and then this one here is, let me think, like 60% or 70% merino and 30% mohair. So like you see there's this strand of gray running through it. or silver. So that's the goat hair, and the rest of it's merino. And this was super fun to spin up. But these all these yarns here are ones that I've spun myself. And they'd be much better for wearing against the skin than the acrylic. I've got a message. What is the message from? Oh, my husband's asking me if I'm going to take the dog to the vet today because he was throwing up every day for several days, and then one day he had diarrhea, which is super gross. But he has since stopped, and now the other dog is throwing up. And she has thrown up 2 days in a row. So I don't know what the hell's going on with my animals. I think it's too late to cancel the appointment anyway. We'd probably get charged because it's less than 24 hours in advance. It's pretty quiet around here today. Man, the other day when I was spinning, I had 11 people. Now I have nobody. Ain't nobody coming. So the other thing I'm thinking about doing for presents this year, and I'll probably do some of this on camera, is I purchased all of these keychains for cheap online. I don't remember how much. This was like less than $10, maybe even less than that. See, these are a bunch of jump rings. But there's 2 different kinds of keychains here. One that's your typical loop, and then also there's sort of a carabiner clip. So my idea here is to crochet a bunch of little things for Christmas, or I can do characters and things, and then I'm going to attach them to these and give them out as gifts. So last year what I did was a lot of ornaments, and that's fine for Christmas, but then you never see them again. So I thought this year I would do keychains because then people will be able to enjoy them throughout the year. My idea right now is to do something like sushi. So like little sushi guys with faces, but I don't know yet. I might do a bunch of different things. Okay, here's a, you want to see a gross trick? So I don't know if you can hear, but right now this is, can you hear that at all? Let me try another stitch. Oh yeah, listen. So see how it's like doing that? I hate that. And it is because of the type of yarn. Acrylic yarn does that. Essentially, acrylic is basically a synthetic polymer, which means a polymer is basically when you have molecules that are all strung together in a long chain. And that is what they use to make acrylic. It's not exactly plastic, but it's kind of like a plastic polymer. And so it makes that creaky, squeaky noise sometimes. So I'm going to show you how you get rid of that noise when you're knitting or crocheting with acrylic. And just, it's going to seem gross, but it's not really, it's very natural. So we have a lot of follicles and oil glands on our heads. And even if your hair's not particularly oily, you always have some oil on your head. So you just take your crochet hook or your knitting needle, whatever you're using, and like kind of scratch your head with it. And just do this and turn it a little bit. And then with a crochet hook, I always have to go out the top because it'll get stuck to my hair. And now I've put a very thin layer of oil on this, and it's completely gotten rid of that squeak noise. See, it's gone. And also the crochet hook now is sliding a lot easier. So maybe I won't tell people that I make things for that. Sometimes I have to rub this on my head to get sebum on it so that I can, well, at least get rid of that sound, which drives me nuts. It like puts my teeth on edge. But anyway, that's super secret trick of knitters and crocheters, is that if you're getting any sort of friction while you're knitting and crocheting, you can just rub it on your head. And it'll take it right off. Get rid of that right away. So now it definitely sounds like the neighbors are having their lawn mowed, which is a little weird because, I mean, the grass is going dormant, so I don't know why they need to have their lawn done. But, you know, it's not for me to say what they spend their money on, so. Though it is a bit irritating because they're creating all kinds of noise, and I'm pretty sure that, I don't know, maybe you guys can't hear it. Whoops. See, there we go. So frustrating. So this would go a lot more quickly if I didn't have such a sharp hook, because it wouldn't split the plies. You know what I mean by splitting the plies? I'm not sure if everybody knows what that means. Hold on a second and I will show you. You get to the end, do another single crochet, chain one, turn your work, single crochet into that space you just created, and then continue on with half double crochets into the third loop all the way down. Okay, so I'm going to show you this if I can. So most yarn that you get is going to be plied, which means when you look at it, it appears to be a single fiber, but if you look closely, you can see, hello, it's not going to let me do it. You can see, woo, sort of a spiral, right? We've all looked at yarn up close, right? Right? There we go. Perfect. If I don't breathe. So what that is are thinner singles, we call them, that have been twisted together or plied together. And often brands will do 3 or 4 ply yarn. And sometimes it'll actually tell you what it is on the packaging. Wonder if this says if it's what the ply is. 100% acrylic. This does not talk about ply, but so if it doesn't tell you how many plies are in it, you can take it and twist it apart, and so I'm going to try that right now, and I could show you if I could get this straight. Hello. Can you see that? You can't because it's out of focus. Focus, damn you! Anyway, this is a 4-ply. So if I was able to show you, can you see that there are 4 smaller fibers there? So each one of those is called a single. So what they did when manufacturing this is that they had 4 single threads that they then plied together to create the one yarn, and that makes a much stronger yarn. It also makes it much thicker. So when I say that I'm frustrated that my hook is catching the plies, what I mean is it's actually splitting the yarn and catching some of the fibers, or even going through one of the plies. And if I had a slightly blunter hook, it wouldn't do that. And then I'd be able to go much faster, but it's fine. See, it just did it again. So sometimes you can take the tip of your hook and get around where it's catching. But it does slow you down. And it doesn't seem to matter what I do. I can't stop catching the goddamn plies. So sometimes I just have to take it out and do it over again. It's annoying. And this is starting to squeak again. That's the other nice thing about using wool yarn, is that if you have some that hasn't been completely scoured and still has a little bit of lanolin in it, you don't get this squeak problem. Though I would say that most wool that you buy has been really, really well scoured. So have you ever bought a wool yarn and it smells a little sheepy? If you can still smell the animal, then that means that there's still a bit of lanolin in that fiber or in the yarn. And I actually really like it, but I like the way sheep smell. So some people don't. Some people think it's disgusting. I think it's lovely. So let's see, for instance, can I smell? I cannot smell anything on this, but also I washed this after I spun it. This one I can't smell it on. No, I washed all these, so I can't smell. But sometimes if you order wool fiber from, like, I order a lot of mine from Paradise Fibers. And when you first open up the bag, sometimes you can still smell the animal. But now, because I have my own sheep, I can just go outside and sniff them. They have many different odors, most of which are pleasant, I would say. So there's the lanolin smell, which is the sheepy smell. But also because they're ruminants, if you're hanging out with them and getting up in their face and they're chewing their cud, they'll burp in your face, and there is an odor to the burp, which is mostly methane gas and just air produced from the fermentation of things in their guts, but it's a very sweet, earthy, it's a nice smell. So yes, I love sheep burps too. I just stabbed myself in the lip with that. Okay, turn the work, single crochet in the first single crochet, and then we continue on. Making a pumpkin. Oh, it's 11:30 a.m. Good. I worked really hard yesterday. I got a bunch of errands done and chores, and so I wasn't able to stream yesterday mostly because I was doing my daughter's laundry. And I cannot stream when I'm doing laundry because I'll have to jump up every 50 minutes or so to put the next load in, and I like to fold things as soon as they come out of the dryer, and that takes 15 minutes per load or so. So when I'm doing laundry, I can't really be streaming. Oh, come on. Okay, so here is an example. You see how, like, here's the yarn that I just pulled up, but then here's a ply from the one that I went through. So I have to take the tip of my hook and get it under the ply. So irritating. Maybe I should just get different crochet hooks. I don't know. These are inexpensive ones. They're just the ones that you can get at any store. They're Boye. B-O-Y-E. And I have another set that's also metal that I think is like from Debbie Bliss or something. I'm not sure. And those ones aren't as nice as these ones. Damn it. Here, I'm going to try to get a little closer. Hold on. Don't get sick. I'm gonna mess with this. There we go. Now this is right in front of my face. Maybe we could do this so it's still close. There. I might also be catching a lot more fiber with this particular stitch because it's a half double crochet, so you have to go through 3 loops rather than just 2. So let's see. So if I was going to do a double crochet, I would go yarn over, insert through the hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through two, and that, see, I didn't catch anything. So probably the reason why I'm struggling so much is because it's a half double crochet and you have to pull through all 3 loops on the hook. So there's more chance for you to get stuck on a ply. It might also just be that I pull too hard. I'm always very high tension, both with knitting and crochet, so I often have to, if I check my gauge, and I didn't for this pattern because it's a pumpkin, but if I do check my gauge, it's often much smaller because I'm a tight knitter and crocheter, so I usually have to go up a hook size or a needle size if I'm going to make gauge. Okay. Slip one. Oh, hi, Umandi. Thank you for the follow. How are you today? Now we're at 77 people. 3 more, just 3 more, and we will have a giveaway. And then I'll have to remember how I set up a giveaway because I haven't done one in so long. But it'll be one of those dealios where you get tokens, and then I'll draw from the tokens. So, sorry. Single crochet. How far are we? Dolphins, that's fun. Oh, look, we're almost done. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 2 more of these long chain rounds, and then we'll be able to go through and I'll show you how to seam this together. I also am working on a couple of different shawls, or at least I started them. I might frog a couple because I really didn't feel too invested in them. Sometimes I find a really pretty pattern and I'm like, I must make this right now, but then I get not as enthused about it. I always seem to be looking toward the next project, which is particularly dangerous if I'm working on something that's going to take some time. Darn it. So I like to break up whatever I'm working on currently with smaller projects, like pumpkins that only take a day. Eh. Oh, this is driving me nuts. I do think I want to make another pumpkin for myself because that's the other thing is I have a tendency to not make things for myself. I always make things for other people. Yeah, exactly. Instant gratification. Um, we need to take breaks from the big projects that we're working on so that otherwise we'll just go crazy. You know what I like to work on? I don't know if you're familiar with, what's his name? There's a designer whose name I can't remember. I think his first name's Frank. I'd have to look it up on Ravelry. And he is the same way, where he gets really bored, particularly if he's working on a project, and he's crochet. If he's working on a project that has the same kind of stitch over and over and over again, which some patterns can be very repetitive like that. So he's created all these patterns where you are never doing the same thing for more than a couple of rows. And so he's got this whole of change series. And I've made a couple of his things. The one that I have as a work in progress still because I'm at the very end stage of it is the Mo of change. Or I think it started as Mo of change, and then he expanded the pattern so that you could take it from a mandala looking thing and turn it into a blanket. Which that end part is very repetitive, which is why I lost interest in it. But I will revisit it someday and finish it. So Frank, his name's Frank something. But if you look up like Momo of Change or just something of change, yeah. And his patterns are brilliant. And they work really well with the, I don't know if you've ever used the Lion Brand Mandala yarn, which is a DK, really nice. It's 100% acrylic, but it's really, really soft. That works really well with his patterns because the color, so you got the color change going on and the pattern change every row or every other row. I really enjoy his patterns because I never get bored with them. Yeah, so the one that I made was the Mo of Change, and then there was another one called, it was like Galaxy or something. I made it as a small blanket for a friend who had a baby. So it's star shaped, and yeah, I like his stuff. Oh, me too. I've got a lot of it downstairs actually in my stash. I actually just bought a bunch of it because I'm working on a knitted skirt. It's been taking me a very long time because it's it's probably, if not mid-calf, it'd probably be mid-calf on me because I have short legs, but it goes down definitely below your knee. And it's knitted with size 4 needles in the round. And every 6 inches or so, you add on another stitch. So it goes from being a 1x1 rib to a 2x2 to 3x3, and you end up with a 4x4. And what it does is to create this beautiful flare skirt. And I'm using the Lion Brand Mandala yarn for that in the Warlock colorway. I love it so much. It's so great. So I've got actually that project upstairs in my nightstand because it's not one you have to think about. So if I'm just, laying in bed or something, I can pull it out and work on it a little bit. So earlier I was talking about how acrylic yarn generally isn't great. Well, that's not always true because there are some acrylic yarns. I don't know what they do to make it different because the Lion Brand Mandala is 100% acrylic, right? But it's so soft. This is 100% acrylic. I don't know if they just use chunkier fiber or what, but this does not feel nice. This is very coarse. Not something you'd want to wear against your skin. It'd be very itchy. Yeah. There's other ones too. I think there's Pegasus or something I really like. Out of the, I'm talking about the mandala yarn. They make another yarn, I think it's Lion Brand, called the Comfy Cotton Blend, which is relatively new. I think it's only been around for a year and a half or something. And I've made several things out of that. So it's some proportion cotton and then acrylic. And I love that stuff too. I'm a fan of Lion Brand. They make some good stuff. Yeah. Yeah, the only Karen yarn I've used is the, is it called the Pound of Love? And that stuff is more like the Red Heart Super Saver. So it's not very high quality. But it'll get you really far on things like, I guess it'd be good if you were doing an Afghan or these smaller amigurumi projects. Yeah. Yes, yarn can be expensive. So if you, do you spin your own yarn? Because, well, okay, I can buy a pound of wool roving from Paradise Yarns for 20 bucks. And if I was consistent and just did it in all in the same colorway rather than what I generally do, which is to, go crazy and do lots of different colors, this is stuff that I've spun myself. And I can't tell you if it's all Corriedale or, because I also bought a Cheviot yarn from them, but a pound will get you, depending on how finely you spin it, enough to make, say, a sweater. But because I like to mess with colors and stuff, I haven't done that yet. So you could get enough yardage out of 20 pounds of wool roving to make, say, a sweater. And that's a pretty good price. But you have to, obviously, then the additional cost is coming from your own labor for having to spin it. And spinning up a pound of roving would take a while. But so I also spin on here. In fact, I have my trusty machine is over here. I'll flip over and show you it. Woo! So here's my Ashford traditional wheel. And I'm currently working on, so this is, these are roll-logs that I created. I dyed them. This one was with goldenrod and pokeberry. So I actually used organic plant-based dyes to get the color. And then I used my Ashford blending board. And I'm not like, they're not paying me or anything. But I bought a blending board to make these roll-logs, and then I'm spinning off of these, and it's just been delightful. So, and I've got, I think, 12 ounces of roll-logs. Woo! Let's come back over here. Yeah. Spinning is super fun. It's very meditative. I love it. But now I can also say, because I recently purchased a couple of sheep, actually 3 sheep. The male is coming on the 15th, hopefully to inseminate my females. So I've got 2 ewes, and I will have a ram, all merinos. So come March, because you are supposed to shear them prior to lambing, about 6 weeks before they are expected to have their lambs. So by mid to late March, I will have many pounds of merino wool. And the girls that I bought, I paid a little extra for because they have a super low micron count. So like a lot of the stuff that you get from Paradise Fibers, and I don't have it with me, is usually 20 to 25 microns. My girls are about 15 microns. So we're talking ultra fine merino wool that is precisely the kind of stuff that you would want to wear in very fine garments next to the skin. So I think I'm going to do the shearing this year because I feel like it's something I need to learn how to do for myself. As my flock grows, I might end up having someone out and do it for me, but maybe I'll get really good at it. Who knows? And so I will have some of that fleece to sell. And also I can, spin some of the yarn and sell that, but I'll also want to keep some of it for myself. So, but my girls are about 170 to 200 pounds a piece, and it's expected that I can get up to about 10 pounds of fleece off of them, and this is a year's growth. So I expect to get quite a lot of fleece off of them. The male is currently about 7 to 8 months old. He was just born in the spring. So he won't have as much fleece, but as he ages, because I'm not going to get rid of him, so I'm actually going to, after he breeds my girls this month, I'm going to castrate him and keep him as a wether. And male merinos tend to be much larger and can have fleeces upwards of 20 pounds. So hopefully come April, lambing season, I will have at least 5 sheep. Maybe more if they end up having twins. So my girls are 3 years old and they've had lambs twice before. However, both times they had singles. So it's likely that they're probably going to have singles again, but there's always a chance that they could have twins. Exactly. And so actually, for the viewers who can't see what's going on in the chat, what Umandi said was, it's so cool how much of you truly goes into what you make, from caring for the sheep to spinning it and actually crocheting and knitting it up. And so part of what I'm trying to do here with my farm is to teach classes, and that's exactly one of the classes I would like to teach, is to have people come to the farm and get to know the animals and understand precisely what goes into raising the animals and caring for them and caring for the property, right? Because you have to, I'm going to be growing, for instance, some hay for them, both on pasture. I want to do some barley starting next year that will be good for them for overwintering. So you have to grow food for them. You have to buy additional food for them, keep them happy, and a lot of work and love goes into that. So it's really interesting because, so I'm in Mason, Michigan, which is just south of East Lansing. So I'm in mid-Michigan area. This is a very much a farm community. Mason is. But I would say most of the people who do sheep here are not doing fiber. The vast majority are raising sheep for meat. And I have no interest in raising sheep for meat. So my philosophy about keeping animals is a bit different than other farmers in the area. So for instance, they might not like to hang on to their rams, or they might only have a few. And often if a ram is no longer going to be used for breeding, they send him to market. But for me, rams are extremely valuable, particularly if they have a low micron count, because they're going to produce more fleece per pound of animal than the ewes do. And part of that is because the ewes are spending a lot of energy particularly if they're having lambs, in producing those babies and also milk. So that's why their fleeces are a bit smaller. But the males are just hanging out, right? And if they're not being used for breeding, they're only going to be producing fleece. So I just went to a seminar on feeding sheep and goats last weekend, and it was interesting. It was clearly biased toward people who raise their animals for meat, particularly with the sheep. So a lot of the people who were doing goats are doing dairy goats, but almost all the sheep people there were not fleece people, they were meat people. And it turns out that nutritional requirements are different depending on what you're using your sheep for. So for instance, a lot of the meat farmers are interested in having their lambs bulk up as quickly as possible. So they want to feed their lambs in such a way that they're going to gain half a pound a day, because they want them to grow as quickly as possible, so that they have them for a short amount of time as possible, so that they're not losing money on raising the animals, right? So the idea is you want to grow them as fast as you can so that you can send them to market. For me, someone who's not eating my animals and is raising them for fleece, I don't care about that. The only reason why I might care about having them bulk up quickly is if I were interested in breeding my ewe lambs in their first year. And I don't think I'm interested in that. I think I'm more likely to wait a year. So instead of breeding my ewe lambs, I would want to wait till they were a year old and then breed them. Does that make sense? So in my case, I don't need to worry about feeding them to bulk them up because I'm going to be keeping them. That also means I can have a much smaller flock at any given time. So a lot of the information in this seminar that I went to was for people who have like hundreds of sheep, and I have 3. And I will hopefully, when we are our largest, have 20, maybe 30. I don't know. I mean, we have a lot of land. We have 8 acres, so we have plenty of land for lots of sheep, but I don't need that many to keep me in fleece. Yes, I would say, so Umandi asked, you mentioned twins. Do twins have a good survival rate? Yeah, they do. Particularly if you have a good mother approving you who is going to take care of them. So I know for a lot of sheep producers, it's frustrating if you have a mother who will not take care of her babies. So those are what we call bum lambs, ones that have been abandoned by their mother for whatever reason. So I have been advised by my mentor, who is another fiber farmer, that if I get females who will not take care of their babies, that I should get rid of them. But I think I won't get rid of them. I probably just won't breed them. And the reason for that is if you have a bum lamb, you're going to be the one taking care of it. And that's a lot more work because they need to be fed like every 4 hours. So you'll be doing a lot of bottle feeding. But the other thing about bum lambs is if you're feeding them, then they come to see you as their parent and you can form a really good bond with them. So I think that there's a cost benefit ratio there, because part of what I want to do on my farm involves education. I want people to come in and be able to walk amongst my animals and get to know them. So I want friendly lambs or friendly sheep. So it doesn't bother me so much if I have to hand raise some. So the answer is yes. The survival rate among twins is very high, particularly if mom takes good care of them. And if she doesn't, then, you know, it's the shepherd's or shepherdess's responsibility to take care of those babies. And I'm prepared to do that if I need to. In fact, so I have my merinos here. I have 3 now, and we'll hopefully have 5, at least 5, come April. But there is, so I'm right next to Michigan State University. I'm just south of the campus. I'm also just south on the same road, actually, as the sheep teaching and research building. And I don't know if anyone is familiar with Michigan State, but it started out as an ag school, and it's still very much a large agricultural school. And so they have surrounding campus, they have all different kinds of farms, and it just happens that the one that's closest to me is the sheep farm. So I went over there to talk to the person who runs it. Her name's Lacey Quayle, and asked her if they ever sell any of their lambs. And in fact, they sell off their bum lambs. And she said that she would sell them to me for $30 a piece. So now they have a different breed. They have a Polypay Dorset cross, in part because Dorset sheep can be encouraged to breed 3 times a year rather than just once or twice. So they're very highly prolific. But the Polypay sheep it's sort of this weird breed name. It was a breed of sheep that was developed to be both a very good fiber producer and meat animal. So Polypay, there's lots of different ways you can make money off of them. So they have decent fleece, not anywhere near like superfine merino like I have, but I think it would be fine to have a couple of those in my flock as well. So depending on how many we end up with the merinos, obviously if I end up having 2 sets of twins, I'm going to be fine because we'll have a lot of work ahead of us in raising all those babies. But if each of my girls only has 1 singles again, then I think I'm going to go over to MSU and get a couple of Polypay lambs. So hopefully by next spring I will actually have 7 animals. And actually the gal who I purchased my sheep from, who is mentoring me, has not all merinos as well. So she has a couple of Teeswater, which have these very long flowing locks. And then she has, one that is a blue-faced Leicester, or at least partial. And then she has a couple of weirdos. I don't remember. Gosh, what did she say they were? They're very large. So she has about 50 sheep in all. Most of those are merinos, like pure merinos. But she does have a couple other ones too. So I don't think there's anything wrong with me having a couple of other sheep that are not merinos. And they can still be bred. So if I breed a Polypay Dorset cross to a merino, then I can expect that the lambs coming out of that arrangement will have finer wool than the mothers did. So. And if anyone's interested in seeing me work with my animals, so I just finally got my YouTube channel for the farm set up. There's not a link right now on my Twitch page. I'll have to make sure that that's added there. But I'm going to be uploading these videos from doing spinning and crochet and knitting, but I'm also going to be uploading videos of me working on the farm. So there's one up there already. It's really terrible because I filmed it with my phone and I stuck it in my pocket. But I'm hoping if I don't get something like a GoPro for Christmas, then I'm going to be purchasing one. And I can use that to film. I mean, every day I go out to do chores, I can be filming it and then uploading it to YouTube so that everybody can see the animals. So right now I have, as I mentioned, the 2 merino ewes. I'll be getting my merino ram on the 15th of this month. And I also have 15 pullets, which are young hens. Ugh, come on. And I have 3 each of 5 different breeds. So I have Plymouth Blue, which is a variation of Plymouth Rock, which is one of the most popular chickens in the United States. They produce brown eggs. Buff Orpington, which are yellowish colored. Marins, which are a French breed, and they produce they're black chickens, and they produce really dark chocolate brown eggs. Blue, Orpington, Marins. I have Americanas, which are a Spanish breed. Yeah. So Umandi says, I've learned so much about sheep today. Oh, yay. You grew up on a farm? Oh, so nice. But you raised chicken, goats, pigs, and you had 2 horses? I'm so jealous. I want a horse. I actually want all the animals. I want just everything. I want goats. I want pigs. I want alpaca. I want all the animals. And they will live happily on my farm because I don't want to eat anybody. I just want to raise them and cuddle them. So yeah, I've got the what did I say? The Buff Orpington. I've got the Marins, which have the dark chocolate brown eggs. I have 3 Americanas, which are, I can't remember what the cross is, but they're derived from a South American species, and they're also called Easter eggers. So those girls produce eggs of different colors, and you don't know what you're going to get, right? So you could get brown eggs, or you could get pink eggs, or you could get blue or green. And if you're lucky, each one will lay a different color. And then the last type are Isa Browns. So the cool thing about Isa Browns is that they are genetically engineered chickens. They are the most productive breed and an individual hen can produce up to 300 eggs a year. And I have 3 of them. Oh, hi! You get green and blue on occasion. I'm very excited to see what colors my girls are gonna come up with. But yes, I'm entirely too enthusiastic and excited about my chickens. So I got them around the beginning of September as just little babies, and they imprinted on me pretty quickly because I would go down and visit with them every single day. So now whenever I go out, because they're outside now living in the coop, and they're so funny. They always hang out together, all 15 of them, and if I go out there, they'll just come running to me. It's so nice. I love them. And I know they say, you know, you shouldn't get too attached to your animals, but too late. I am way attached to my animals. I want ducks too. So another interesting thing about the property that we purchased is I have been working with the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, to get my farm properly sanctioned or whatever, signed up with USDA so that we will be eligible for loans and cost share and things with USDA. And one of the things I learned was that our property was part of a farm that had already been established prior to 1985. So it turns out that our property and our neighbor's property used to be together one farm. Sometime in the last 30 or so years, it was split. So it was 12 acres, and now we have 8, and they have 4. And it also turns out that the land was largely wetland, which in the spring and during this time of year is hugely apparent because you go back there and it's very, very muddy and damp, and there's some parts of the yard that are just under standing water right now. And it turns out that because it was being used to produce crops prior to December 23rd, 1985, when the something was passed, we are grandfathered out of having to save it as a wetland. But because it at one time was a wetland, I can work with the conservation arm of USDA to get part of my farm turned back into a wetland. So there's this little area off to the side where I actually have reeds growing, reeds and cattails, which is very interesting because there's a low-lying spot there for a vernal pond or a ephemeral pool that will that usually shows up after the spring thaw, and then in the summer it's totally dried out, but it's enough moisture in the soil for things like cattails to grow. So that area I could actually restore as a wetland and hopefully attract native birds like waders and ducks to my farm. But I also, like Umandi is mentioning, that she has had ducks, and I would like to also have ducks and geese. So hopefully we'll have that going on too in the future. Aw, I don't have any roosters. So Garnet K is saying she has, so you have chickens now, and you have a tiny rooster. Oh, you had a tiny rooster. He thought he was big and bad and 5 inches tall. I don't have any roosters right now. So the plan is just to use the chickens for eggs. Eventually, yeah, we'll want to produce more chickens. But for right now, I just have hens. But like I said, I want all the animals. I just can't get them all at once because, I don't know, my husband he's weird about stuff like that. but I do love them. In fact, I still have to get out there today. So because I'm getting my ewes ready for breeding, I want them to put on a little bit more weight to improve their body condition. So I bought them a nice grain mix, and I'm giving them each about a pound a day. So I still have to go out and do that today. All right, I think I'm on my last round. I just need to double check so that I don't do too many. So the magic number is 42. And each one of these ridges counts as 2 because there's one going down and one going back. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 30, 2, 4, 6, 8, 40, 2. So actually I only have one more. I go back one more. And then I'll be ready to seam this puppy together. See, it's doing that thing again, so I need to rub it on my head. Hi, Pumpkin Panda. Yes, I'm making pumpkins. I'm making a pumpkin. I've already made several of these. This one I'm making for my very best friend. The pattern comes from Yarn and Chai. And it's called Rustic Little Pumpkin. And if you go to her website, you can get the pattern for free. If you wanted to throw some money her way, which I would encourage, you can also pay a little extra to download the PDF. But her pattern is just adorable. I've seen a lot of crocheted pumpkins online, and this is by far my favorite. Yeah. And it's just, you know, I love it when the most simple patterns are just the most charming. I also am partially convinced that knitting and crocheting is magic. So the thing that's really special about this pattern is you're working with a whole series of half double crochets. And normally when we do crocheting, we work into the top 2 loops. But with a half double crochet, you end up with this 3rd loop on the side. So with this pattern, you are always working into that 3rd loop, and it makes this really nice, delicate chain on the outside that almost looks like it was knitted. And then it's filled in with the bars from these half double crochets, and it looks like a pumpkin. Yeah, so it's just super easy. It's fun. And then she embellishes it a little bit by using cinnamon sticks as the stems, which is just fun in and of itself, but also then it smells like pumpkin pie. So, and then the last thing that you need is just some florist wire, which I got off of Amazon Prime for like $2. This whole big skein of it. So each one of these has probably only cost me $1 to make. You know, because I'm using this is just Red Heart Super Saver in pumpkin. So this maybe cost $3, the whole skein. And I've already made, so this is my 4th pumpkin. And then I'm going to make another one for myself because I've been making them for other people and I haven't made one for myself yet. And isn't that the way things work? So I'm getting to the end of this one, and then I'll show you what you do to make it look like a pumpkin. This is the other reason why I like simple patterns, is because it's easy to memorize them, and then you don't have to keep something out in front of you. Hey Wally 1002, welcome. Thank you for the follow, everybody who's here right now. We now have 78 followers. We get 2 more, and I'll be doing a giveaway. What will I give away? Well, that depends on whomever wins the giveaway. So giveaways that I've done in the past, whoever wins, I will talk with that person and see what their heart most desires. And I will make them something. So in the past, it's usually been like little amigurumi things. So there's a gal who follows me who I think she's originally from New Zealand. Is that correct? And she loves kiwis. And so I made her a little kiwi. It might come up actually in the past projects there. And she said the other day she came by and said that she still has it sitting on her desk. There's another gal who I made a little kitty for, just it's just maybe 3 inches high. And then I also made a beaded necklace for her. It's called, okay, so if I remember correctly, doing the half double inside that third loop is called doing the camel stitch. Interesting. But I suppose everything has a name, right? All right, so here we're at the end of this row, of our 42nd row. So we're going to do our single crochet into the end and chain 1, and normally what you would do is head back the other direction, but since we're at the end of where we need to be, instead what you end up doing is creating these little holes at the end of each row as you go around. So now we're going to single crochet into them. Yep, 42 rows. So I started this last night. So I've probably, of course I've been blabbing this whole time that I've been streaming. If I was really intent on doing just this, you can probably get through it in an hour. So they're super fast to make. And they're fun to make. And they're easy. So it's also one of those things that if you're working on a bigger project and you need some time out, this is a good project to do that with because it's so quick. Okay, so here I'll show you what we're going to do. So I'm at the corner here now of the 42nd row. And so I'm going to go along the bottom now and do single crochets, 42 of them. So there's a hole here, and then there's a smaller hole next to it. That's 2. 4. I don't know, can you hear that? My hands must be a little moist. Stop doing that. You know, and if it takes you a day, that's fine. I'm also pretty fast when I'm concentrating on a thing. Though I would say I'm much faster at knitting than I am at crocheting. Yeah, you can hear the squeak. Listen to it. Look. Hold on. Here, let's see if it... Yeah. So I was saying that one really cool and gross way that you can get rid of the squeak is just rub it on your head. And no one has to know. I'm making this for my best friend. She doesn't have to know, and I don't think she would mind anyway. It's still squeaking. Never mind. Yeah. ASMR. Yes. If I had a proper mic, my husband does. He's got a whole mic set up over there because he streams video games. Um, but I don't. Yeah, and I am a very tight knitter and crocheter. Yeah, I was talking about the different types of yarn. Even if they're 100% acrylic, they must have some different formulas for them because some of them are much softer than others, even if it's all acrylic. But the Super Savers are, I mean, it's just cheap, right? This is like one of the cheapest yarns you can get. The Karen 1 pound might actually be a bit cheaper than the Super Savers. But it is exactly the yarn that I need for these kinds of projects. I wouldn't want to use a really expensive yarn for making a pumpkin with, right? So Pumpkin Panda says, technically, you're touching it the whole time, so there will be a trace of skin cells inside the yarn as you go. That's a good point. There's always a little bit of the crafter in everything that they make. And you know, I'm like breathing on it the whole time too, so. Squeak. God, the neighbors are still out there doing something. What are they doing? I need to go spy on them. Oops. And you know, one of the things I was thinking about doing with, so sometimes I've made things where I grow things like lavender. So I'll make little pillows and stuff and actually put bits of lavender on the inside so it smells nice. I was thinking about doing something like that with these pumpkins, but I don't know what you could use. Like some sort of essential oil or something. Because after a time, the cinnamon stick actually isn't as smelly. If you scratch it or something, then it kind of wakes up the smell a little bit, but I guess you could sprinkle cinnamon on the inside of it. Or maybe you could like creepily put something inside of each of your creations. Yeah, I'll have to try that. Use pumpkin pie spice or something and see if that works. And last one. Now I'm going to count to make sure that I have 42 and didn't add any extra stitches. It's not super important at this point, but 1, 2, 3, 20. See, I added an extra stitch. 41, 42. Oh no, 41, 42. That is 42. Okay. All right. So I have my 42 stitches along the bottom. So it makes a real nice edge, which you're not going to see anyway because this is going to get cinched in, right? A friend of mine a couple of times has accidentally crocheted a stray hair. Yes. In fact, so I made a couple other of these for some friends that I see once a week because we do trivia on Mondays. And there was apparently a dog hair on one of them, so So my dogs get to be a little bit a part of my art as well. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is to make sure I'm actually on the outside. And I know that I'm working on the outside because this is the tail from when I cast on with the magic loop. That's going to be on the inside. And we're going to actually work with that in a second. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to join it with the first stitch. We're going to do a slip stitch to join that. All right. So I have 42 stitches all the way around. And I'm going to cut that, but I'm going to leave a very, 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 very long tail. Very long tail. Because this is going to be worked through the pumpkin many, many times. So I'm going to bind that off now, pull this all the way through. La 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 la. All right, so that's joined on the bottom. Oh no, it's stuck in my mouse. How has this happened? So the next thing we need to do is to make sure that our cinnamon stick is going to fit in the hole in the top. So you start making this with a magic ring, but instead of cinching it up, you're going to leave it open. So next we bring our cinnamon sticks on over, and I got to pick a good one. I want to pick one that looks like a pumpkin. There. Most of these are pretty thin. This one's pretty good. Smells so good. Okay. So what you're going to do is take your cinnamon stick, and this is going to get cut down, so I'm not using the whole thing. But stick the end of it into the hole, and then go back to the tail that you created with your, magic loop at the beginning, and just cinch it tight around the cinnamon stick. And then I need my needle. Hold on, what did I do with my needle? Needles, where are you? There's one, there's one. Okay, so without tightening it anymore, what we're going to do, yeah, actually, so Pumpkin Panda says at this stage, if you were to not cinch it, you could actually make a beanie. So, I don't know, I think Rebecca is her name, the person who owns Yarn and Chai, who wrote this pattern, says that there's a hat pattern that she's made that used this exact method of using the half double crochets and going into the third loop. So you could use this to make a hat. Okay, so I've got my cinnamon stick in there and I've cinched it to the right size, so now I'm going to take it out. Going to take it out very easily. There we go. So now it's going to be the right size for when I go to stick it back in later. I'm going to turn this inside out because I need to have it inside out for when I seam it later. And I'm going to weave in the tail from my magic loop because we don't need it no more. Yeah, is that a baby nursing a rocking chair behind me? It's a glider, and it is. It's the one that I used for my daughter. So this, I'm in the, what is my husband's home office. It started out that way. And I've slowly been taking over the corner of it. So you can't see, but off to camera on that side is his setup, where he plays World of Warcraft and Overwatch and what other game has he been playing lately? The Outer Worlds, which is made by the same people who do Fallout. And he also streams his game playing, but he usually does that in the evening. So I have what we were calling my studio down in the basement. So we just moved into this house in June. And there's a very nice outbuilding, a detached garage. So we have a attached garage, 3-car garage, and then a detached 2-car garage. And that garage is going to become my personal studio and office and classroom and storefront. But right now it is a garage. So, and right now I don't have the money to renovate it. So we're going to cut that off. We're done with that. Goodbye. So anyway, I still need a place to work. So we set up the basement as my studio. And it's cold down there. So the other very weird thing about this house is that part of the basement is finished. But to get to the finished part of the basement, you gotta walk through part that's unfinished. And that is stupid. So I don't know why the previous owners designed it that way. The finished part's pretty cool. It's one long space. There are no divisions. It's just one long area. Apparently, the married couple who lived here had one of their mothers was living with them, and she was a quilter, and so she used that whole space for quilting. There's a Murphy bed down there, so that's kind of cool for when we have people over. But we've sort of created these artificial separations along the long room. One corner of that is my supposed temporary studio, but it's very cold down there, and no one else is down there, and I'm by myself, and it's lonely. So I've sort of taken over part of the office upstairs because it's warmer and because I can be near my husband, and there's a TV. And so I have my chair behind me, and yeah. So this is where I'm working now, and I brought my wheel up the other day, so it's very compact and everything is all like right here. But all of my stash is still downstairs, so if I need stuff, I have to go downstairs and get it. So, storefront, yes. So here's the story. I truly am a doctor. I have a PhD in education from Michigan State University. I finished that in 2014 and got a job right out of grad school as an assistant professor at Michigan Technological University, which is up in the UP. Had that job for 5 years, and they closed my department. So it was one of these things where they say, you know, you don't have to leave, but you can't stay here. And my husband has had the same job for the last 16 or 17 years, and he was working remotely from our house. And he decided that he wanted to be able to commute and go back to the office. So in order to do that, we had to move back to the Lansing area. And there's nothing for me in Lansing, particularly if I wanted to pursue academia. And that was fine with me because it turns out I didn't. You know, if you go through grad school, particularly if you go to get a PhD, they will try to convince you that the only thing you are good for is being a professor. Well, there's so much more that you can do. And having been a professor for 5 years convinced me that I no longer wanted to be that, because academia is a cult and it's very toxic. And so I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. And then I had to, figure out, if I'm not going to do that anymore, what am I going to do? So I decided to start my own business, and that is my farm business. So, what I'm doing is I I've already got some sheep and some hens, and I'm gonna practice permaculture, which is basically small scale sustainable agriculture where you're treating your farm basically as an ecosystem. So all the plants and soil are going to work with all the animals and people on the farm. We're all going to work together to support one another. And the plan is to raise enough food to support my family. And then anything that's left over, I'm going to sell. So we have tons of farmers markets around here. But I'm also very crafty, and I'm raising the sheep for fiber. So I'm going to be producing my own yarns. This summer, I got to practice doing using organic materials, just essentially weeds that were around my property, to dye my yarn with. So, for instance, this I dyed with. Does anybody know what pokeweed is? Pokeweed is it's a type of berry that just grows wild. It makes this gorgeous, luscious, pinky red color. So this was actually made from boiling berries in a pot on my stove. Yeah. So if you look up pokeweed, you'll see what I mean. It has like these long strands of berries. And so I just started collecting it. Collected about a pound of it, or actually it was more than a pound. I had a gallon Ziploc bag, and so I just filled that up with berries and then boiled them on my stove. And if you've ever messed around with pokeberries before, they will stain everything. So it's a really nice color fast dye. So totally, this just came from pokeweed and some water. And then this one was done with goldenrod, which 90% of my property is goldenrod. So I spun the yarn and then dyed it with natural dyes. And I have a couple more downstairs that I did. I used avocado, which is supposed to come out pink, and for me came out kind of brown because I think I let it get too hot, and it sort of denatures the proteins and turns it brown. But I also used Eastern black walnut, which came out as a beautiful chocolate brown color. So I'll also be teaching spinning. So part of the classes that I want to teach are just, your run-of-the-mill knitting and crochet, but I'm also going to teach spinning. I'm going to take people around on the farm to look at the animals. We'll do some dyeing with organic materials. So we're going to do all that stuff. Yeah. Which is not to say that I'm not still going to go to the store and buy Red Heart for other projects. But this is what I would call my very fine wool. This is nice yarn that I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. Probably make some sort of hat or something. But and then this is a yarn that I spun. The gal who sold me my sheep sold this to me as a blended top, and I spun that. So it's got, can you see the sparkles in it? So it's mostly, it's like 70% merino. No, I'm sorry, this one is mostly merino. There's a little bit of Teeswater in it because that's one of the breeds that she has. And then Angelica, I think it's called, which is the metallic fiber. Yeah, so my education degree will not go to waste. I will be able to use it to teach people. And ultimately, I think it would be super cool if I had school groups and stuff come. So I don't know how that'll work because we really don't have a good parking situation. So we are set back from the road a ways. We have a very long driveway. And we do have an area to turn around in, but it's not ideal yet. So I'll have to figure out what we're going to do about the parking situation. But ultimately, yeah, I'd love to have school groups come in. I want to work with the Michigan Department of Education to see if I can offer professional development for teachers. So what I did when I was a professor was to train teachers to be teachers and also offered professional development for teachers. In most states, in order for teachers to maintain good standing and hold on to their certifications, they have to have a certain number of professional development hours. And in order to get those, you have to go to a provider. Well, I have friends that I graduated with who are now working at the Michigan Department of Education, so I can talk to them and see if I can actually offer professional development hours and then have teachers come in and learn. You know, I could do, we could do some biology, I can do some economics, who knows. But I might do some professional development for teachers as well. So right now I'm doing very little. Right now I'm spending my husband's money. He is investing in getting the business up and off the ground. So, all right, what was I working on? So we did the part, we made sure that the top, the magic circle, is going to fit our cinnamon stick later on, right? Remember, I turned this inside out, and that's going to be very important for seaming. So right now I have this long tail, which is necessary because we're going to be, after I stuff this, we're going to work back and forth from the top to the bottom to cinch it on both sides to give it that pumpkin shape. But right now we need to seam up the side to close it up. Yeah, Dr. Yarn, PhD, MD, BSc. So interesting. So I have 3 degrees. I have a Bachelor of Science in Biology from Oakland University, which is in Rochester, Michigan. I have a Master's of Science in Zoology from Michigan State, and then a PhD in Science Education from Michigan State. All right. So the way that we do this is, remember, we joined this in the round with a slip stitch, and then we turned this inside out. So we're going to be working from the top to the bottom as it's facing me. So we're just going to go through the first single crochet here on the bottom and pull that through. It's going to take a while because it's very long. Michigan is considered Midwest. Do you know where the Great Lakes are? So if you look at a map of the United States, you've got Canada at the top, and then the United States, and then there's like the one state that looks like a mitten, and there's all the lakes around it. Yes, near Wisconsin. That's Michigan. Michigan is the Great Lakes state. It's got 4 of the 5 Great Lakes surrounding it, and that's where I am. I would draw a picture if I had anything near me, but all right. So now what we're going to do is, because I went through that first single crochet, so what I'm looking at here is, this is the foundation chain where I started these rows that went back and forth, and then I ended on this half double crochet here. So I'm going to look for my first half double crochet, which is actually right here. So I'm going to go through this other stitch one more time. And I'm again going to go through that 3rd loop on the half double crochet so that I can maintain the chain on the outside. Is it cold, or do the lakes get humid? It depends where you are in the state. So I'm in the lower peninsula, I'm in the mitten, the lower part, and roughly in the middle. So we don't get really severe weather here. And part of that is because we're buffered by the lakes. If you live closer to the coast on either side, so you would have Lake Michigan on one side, and then like Lake Huron and Lake Erie on the other. Particularly if you're living on the west side of the state near Lake Michigan, they get a lot of what's called lake effect snow. And that is because the air blows over the lake and picks up a lot of moisture. It's also true if you're in the upper peninsula, because Michigan has an upper and a lower peninsula. The upper peninsula actually projects out into Lake Superior, which is one of the largest bodies of freshwater in the world, and is also where I used to live. So they get a lot of lake effect snow from Lake Superior. And lake effect snow is essentially very wet, heavy, huge flakes of snow. So they get a lot of accumulation. In the middle of the state here, we don't get quite as much accumulation, but it does get quite cold. But we are protected from a lot of, we don't get hurricanes or anything. We do get tornadoes, but not nearly as much as you get in the central states of the United States. So it's we get pretty mild weather, I would say. Maybe a few cold days. All right. So now I'm back to, here's the first half double crochet. So I'm going to go down through the third chain and then into the corresponding stitch of the foundation chain. And I'm just going to do this all the way up. Yep, I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle of the state. So I did spend the last 5 years living in the Upper Peninsula, where we would get, on average, 300 inches of snow. I don't know what that is in centimeters, or even meters. Hold on. Alexa, how many meters is in 300 inches?
300 inches is about 7.6 meters.
Okay, so we would on average get 7.6 meters of snow a year in the Upper Peninsula. If you can imagine having that much snow. That was my life for 5 years. Oh, good. Because I'm in the United States and we only know imperial. I do agree that metric is easier. Okay, you asked, why are you going through one loop on the right side and two on the left? Because on the top part, I'm going through that third loop of the half double crochet, and the reason for that is I want this chain to be visible. So if I were to go through the top part, I would actually be tucking this under, and then you would only see the bar of the half double crochet, and I want to maintain that nice chain on the outside, which gives the look of the, what would you call them? Sort of the indentations of the gourd. And then I'm going through the 2 loops of the foundation chain on the bottom side here. And that is going to provide stability. You know, I have a lot of problems with the United States. The fact that we refuse to use metric system is just one of the lesser problems. It is annoying because you're right, metric makes a lot more sense. But like I said, there's so many other things right now that I'm annoyed with about this country that I'll take it. I know that the UK also has its own problems, but Boy, it's time to be alive, isn't it? We just had elections yesterday. Um, there was really nothing to vote on in Michigan. In fact, we didn't have any ballot in Mason because we had our governor's race a couple years ago, or last year. Last year. But it was interesting seeing the numbers come in for some of the different more conservative states that were flipped. Pumpkin Panda says that there are many things there that I don't agree with, but I feel I shouldn't voice my opinions on it since I don't live there and experience it firsthand. Everything I know is secondhand information, so it comes to me biased. That's very true, and I think that's a good attitude to have. Um, I will say, and I feel the same way about the UK because I only know what our media reports. But I also follow quite a few knitters and crocheters that are from the UK, and so I kind of I feel that those are very good people. So and I feel that in terms of our personal values, we feel very much the same on things. So even though I know that their opinions are biased, I think that if we were in the same country, we would feel the same way or very similar. So so much drama, yes. There are, in the United States right now, there's just scary things happening. It's just a lot of hate. But it's interesting to me that it seems to be happening all over the world. There's so many of these people who are coming into power in many different countries who are just full-on nationalists. People who are afraid of immigrants. I don't get it. Immigrants aren't scary. They just people. I don't know if I'm biased because I've spent the last 20 years of my life at universities. And so most of my friends come from different parts of the world. And they're all like super fantastic people. So I'm not afraid of people who come from other parts of the world. I don't know. Well, so you say you wish you had a friend to crochet with? I too wish I had a friend to crochet with. So one of the things that when I get my space up and running is I would like to host a weekly Stitch and Bitch where people can just come and hang out and we can eat delicious things and drink coffee and tea and crochet and knit and talk about stuff that we care about. But right now I don't have the space for that. Well, I guess I do, but they'd have to come into my house. And since we just moved, there's, the house isn't totally ready for that yet. There's a couple things I still have to do. Paint some things but the renovations to the garage aren't going to happen anytime soon. Sort of part of my 5-year plan is I would like to get that thing renovated. But it needs to be completely gutted. I need to remove the overhead garage door and replace it with some nicer, I'm thinking like double French doors or something. That's a lot of work. and it's going to cost a lot of money. So I'm trying to find a loan to do it and then hire some people to do it because I don't know what I'm doing. But that doesn't mean that I can't start teaching classes or hosting social gatherings just in my house. We have plenty of room. Yeah. So Umandi says, same here. That's why I hang out in crochet streams. It is sort of like, you know, even though we're not bodily in the same room together, we get to talk to each other and kind of the same thing. There is a group that I'm planning on joining here, a couple cities over, called the Spinners Flock. It's just this big group of people who are wool and yarn enthusiasts, and many of them are hand spinners, and they meet once a month. And essentially every time they meet, it's like just a big get together, but then people sell things, excuse me, sell yarn and trade knowledge about different strategies and things. So I'm planning on joining that. I can't do it this month because I can't go to this month's meeting because I'm going out of town, but I didn't know about this type of community until we moved here and I started to meet people who were into raising sheep and growing wool and stuff. Wow. I'm going to read this by Pumpkin Panda because it's pretty deep. So she says, my thoughts are that we'll just have a rubber band effect and things will just get worse and worse until everyone and everything is at a breaking point and the division between rich and the poor or working class is so broad that eventually, oh, hold on, go back up. So broad that eventually the band breaks and then everything like resets and money becomes obsolete and isn't used anymore. And there's more decency and kindness because everyone is on the same level. Kind of like Star Trek dystopian future. Yeah, that would be great, actually. I love it. I do know Adorn, so I'm not in Wisconsin. I'm in Michigan, which is next to Wisconsin. So she's actually farther from me now than when I was in the UP. Because part of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan actually extends over Wisconsin. So when I was living up in the UP, she was actually directly south of me by maybe 6 hours or something. Now I'm living 10 hours south in the lower peninsula of Michigan, so she's farther from me. But yes, I used to hang out in her stream a lot. I know that she's, does she still stream? Because yes, she opened her own yarn shop. But yes, I do know of her. I also follow her Instagram, and so I'm sort of trying to keep up with her, but okay, I'm in the last single crochet going through the last foundation chain here on the seam. And so what the instructions say is to actually tie a knot, which I know most people consider a no-no. But the reason is you want to make sure that this seam is not going to come apart, right? So we're just going to go through and make one single knot, simple knot, just to keep things from coming undone. It's 1 o'clock. I'm going to have to eat soon. Did she lose one of her cats? Because I know she had Emerson and... What was the other cat's name? Oh, I can't remember his name. I think one of them passed. Mo. That's right. And I know Emerson's been having some problems. I think she lost Mo. And she still has Emerson, but he's having some health issues. I have cats. I don't know where everybody is right now. When we moved down here, we got 2 kittens. So we had 2 cats. And now we have 2 kittens in addition to the 2 cats. All right, what I'm doing now is, so I did the seaming. We're all seamed. So there's, you can kind of make out where the seam is, but it's not too noticeable. And actually what I've been doing is sort of putting that at the back. Okay, so now we've got this lovely, almost hat looking thing, right? With a little hole at the top where we're going to stick the cinnamon stick at the end. So the instructions next say you just pick one of these to go through. I usually start near where I went in for the seam. And so you just keep part of this tail on the inside. See how I've got, it's just going to basically run through the inside of the pumpkin. And I'm going to pull it a little bit, but not much. And then I'm going to do another knot here. And so that's just going to get slack and stay inside the pumpkin. Boop. So now what we're going to do is to weave around every 3rd stitch. So I started here. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to go down through that stitch. And I'm not going to pull it tight. I'm just going to take up the slack. Then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to go up. And so I'm going to do this all the way around until I get back to the beginning. And this is going to create a drawstring effect. You probably don't need as much of a tail as I've given it. But I always overdo it, so. 1, 2, 3, go back down. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, love a good drawstring. 1, 2, 3. I'm hungry. I missed lunch. It's one of the things about like not having a sort of a real job right now is time has no meaning. Half the time I don't know what day it is. Oh, I have a vet appointment for my dog at 3:20, so hopefully I'm probably not going to finish this because it does take a while to go to do the cinching at the end, but at least I'll get started with that so you can see what it looks like. 1, 2, 3, go down. And then I will have to take my dog to the vet. Yes, in fact, I did make this doily. I made it for an art show. So it was in an art show at Michigan Tech for about 3 months. I do like a good doily. And okay, so we're back to the beginning. So now we went up. We're going to go back down here. where we started. And now if I pull this, it's just going to cinch up, right? Ta-da! But we don't need to cinch it yet because we're going to stuff it. So what I found is if you overstuff this, so most of the time when people are making amigurumi, the instructions are to stuff it as tight as you can, and then when you think you can't stuff it anymore, stuff it more, right? You don't want to do that with this because it gets to be, because you need to be able to pass a needle through the bottom where we're going to cinch it up, sorry, to the top. So if let me show you this. So you start this pattern by making this magic ring, and then you have 14 stitches going into that magic ring, and then you do 3 single crochets into each of those 14 initial loops, and it's going to create a little hole. You see the holes here? So you're not going to see these at the end because what we're going to do is, once this is fully stuffed, I'm going to go up through the bottom, I'm going to go up through a hole and down through another hole and back through the bottom again, and I'm going to cinch it to squish it on the top and bottom. And you're going to do that for all 14 of these holes. What that does is at the end when you go to put in your cinnamon stick, you won't be able to see those holes. But if you have it overstuffed, it is impossible to get the needle through because it just gets jammed up in all those fibers. So I have found it works a lot better if you lightly stuff it, and then just sort of try to push the stuffing to the outside and have it less stuffed in the middle. Right. So, what did I do with my stuffing? Where is it? I think I put it upstairs. So you know what I'm going to do? Because I've been going for, how long? How long have I been doing this for? 2.5 hours. So what I'm going to do is take a quick break. I'm going to go to the restroom. I'm going to maybe get myself a granola bar and go grab my stuffing, which is upstairs, and then I will be right back. Okay? So don't go anywhere, or go ahead and take a break yourself, and we'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Looks like Pumpkin Panda took off. So, see you later. Got my stuffing. And then I also got a granola bar because I'm starving. Just gonna snack on this. Alright. I'm just gonna pull out a bunch. I've also found this tends to work a little bit better if I don't just put it all in one mass, but pulling it into smaller pieces and then stuffing it. Because again, I'm going to try passing a needle through this, so I want it to be fluffy and not blocking the passage of my needle. Okay. So I'm sort of going in and then taking my fingers and spreading it out like that. Because I want it to be against the edges, which is the part that's going to be stuffed anyway. Oh, hi. No, I literally just had to run upstairs and, so our house has 3 floors. There's a basement and the main living area that I'm on. And then all the bedrooms are upstairs. And I had been working on another pumpkin upstairs, and that's why my stuffing was up there. I just went to the restroom, grabbed a granola bar, grabbed my stuffing. All right. Man, I was hoping that we would be able to get 2 more followers so we could do start the giveaway stuff. Pumpkin Panda, I think I follow you on Twitter. Is that true? I've definitely seen you on Twitter, I think. I have started following many, many more knitters and crocheters and fiber artists on Twitter because I decided that I wanted my Twitter feed to be a lot happier. And it has been because all these people on Twitter are lovely people. If you are not a follower of me on Twitter, there's a link on my page here. You are also welcome to join my Discord, where we like to share things that we're working on. I'm also going to be putting my YouTube channel, a link to that eventually when I remember to do it. All right, this looks pretty good. Like I said, I don't want it to be overstuffed because that's not the point. And I'm still just trying to use my hand to force the stuffing to the edges so that there's less stuffing in the middle. So it'll make it easier for my needle to go through. I can probably use a little bit more. All right. So now we're going to cinch it tight. We can see how if we like it. And I do. I think it's I could actually use a little bit more. Watch me put too much in. And then I'll regret it. And you want to try to be even, because you don't want a lumpy pumpkin. Though, you know, I mean, natural, real pumpkins are kind of lumpy. So, it doesn't have to be perfect. Though I will say that Rebecca, the one who, at Yarn and Chai, who created this pattern, her pumpkins are absolutely perfect. There. So, the thing is it's not an accurate, what's the word I'm thinking of? When you just start here, you got to remember that this is going to be cinched down in the middle. So you want to sort of do that and see, are you happy with how it looks? And if not, you'll want to add a little bit more. This is actually pretty good. I'm going to pull this and then I'm going to smoosh it and kind of roll it and see if I can get some more even distribution of the stuffing. Because once you start going back and forth with the yarn, it's going to sort of lock everything in place. So you want to make sure that before you start doing that, you are happy with the shape of the pumpkin. So, I mean, that's pretty good, right? Sorry, I keep on going off this side. So, okay. So, what we're going to do is we're going to pull this tight, and then we're going to pass this needle through a couple times just to make sure that stuff, so that stays closed. There. And this is a lot easier to do if you have a longer needle. It's also easier to do if you have a metal needle. I tried doing with a plastic one and it just kept bending all over. So this one goes through the stuffing a lot better because it's pointier, sharper, but it bends like crazy, so it's kind of useless. All right. So this is all nice and cinched up at the bottom. So now what we're going to do is the part that I hate. It's not fun. We're going to go up through the bottom. Okay. We're going to come out into one of these holes at the top. Can you see what I'm doing? Pull it all the way through. And go back down in the next hole over. So there's these little arms from where you worked into those first 14 loops. And you're going to take it back through the bottom, as close to the middle as you can. And then here's the magic. Here's where it happens. You're going to pull on it. And it's going to cinch it down and give you that wonderful pumpkin shape. So then we're going to go up again into the next one. Yeah, it's got a tight waist. It's a lovely pumpkin. Pull on it and then go back down. Oh, I'm being visited by dogs. Hello. So pull that through and then cinch it down. What? Do you have to go outside? Yeah? You sound quite desperate. What? Oh. What, honey? Oh my God. Can you hold on? Or you gotta go right now? Right now. Like, you're gonna make a mess if you don't go right this second. All right. Do you want to say hi to everyone first? I'm just gonna leave that right there while I take you. Come here. Why don't you come say hi? Come here. Come here. Come. She says no. Anyway, this is my dog. Can you see her? Where is she? There she is. Hi, Agate. Oh, it's Aggie. Yeah. I'm gonna take her outside real quick and I'll be right back. Come on. What's it? Come on. Come on. I don't know how long it'll be before I hear them demanding to come back in. Oh, you love my hoodie? Yeah, my husband got this for me when he went to San Francisco last year. I kind of live in hoodies now. All right, where was I? Now we're at the bottom. We gotta go back through. Is that right? Yeah, this is the next one. So this is the part of the project that I like the least. I think I did a pretty good job this time of not over stuffing it though, because the needle's going through really easily. The last couple ones I did was actually hurting my hand trying to get it to force the needle through, because this is it's not a sharp needle, it's just a darning needle, right? And so if you've overstuffed your pumpkin, it can be difficult. Let's see, to get through all that fiber. Oops. You have an idea? What's the idea? Ouch. Also, it's raining outside now. It's pretty cold. We've been getting some snow flurries. Nothing too bad, but I still do have to go out and feed the sheep today. Yeah, that's what I tried to do this time, is not to stuff the middle so much and push it. So as I was stuffing it, I was sort of using my hand to push it out to the sides, and that seems to be working pretty well. So here's the bottom. And you can't even see any of the holes from when we did that drawstringing. It just cinches together really lovely. It's nice. Where are you, Umandi? And I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. We already had, so our first big snow was on Halloween, actually. It didn't really hang around much. Although I hear up in the Upper Peninsula they already have 2 feet of snow. Which surprises me not a bit. Okay, where's the next one? The other thing is, once you get going, it gets to be kind of hard to see where the next one is. So my tail is much larger than it needs to be. It's Mandy? Mandy. 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 Not you, Mandy. Mandy. I get it. Can I just call you Mandy then? Mandy from Richmond, Virginia. La la la. How far are we? I think we're halfway. This is going so much faster than before. All right, I shall call you Mandy. You know, I don't think I've ever been to Virginia. I've been all over the country. I don't think I've ever been to Virginia. Maybe I've actually gone through Virginia. Might have driven through it. So this is definitely the least fun part of this project, but it's only one part. Come on, go through. Oh, you should come to Michigan. I love Michigan. So I was born in Michigan. I was born in Detroit, Michigan, which is a city that is misunderstood, I would say. And then when I was 3, we moved to Toledo, Ohio, which is about 2 hours from Detroit, because my dad's job got moved. And I spent all of my school years growing up there. Met my husband. We started dating in high school. And then I went back to Michigan because I don't like Ohio, or I didn't when I was growing up there. And I just sort of stayed here. Oh, come on, I can't get it through. So it gets more and more difficult to get the needle through as you get more yarn going back and forth in the middle here. We're doing pretty well so far. How many more do I have to go? 2 more. So this is a pretty big pumpkin. If you want a smaller pumpkin, you can just use smaller yarn. And the instructions basically just say you want to use a hook that is a size or so smaller, size or 2 smaller than what is recommended for that yarn. So I went off of the packaging for the Red Heart Super Saver, and it suggests an I9, or a 9, what is it, 9, what is the 9? What is the measurement? Millimeter? Or size I to use with this yarn, which is a worsted weight. So I went with a G, which is 4.25. Yeah, so if you wanted an even bigger pumpkin, you could go for like a even chunkier, super chunky yarn. And it would make a very large pumpkin. So the first one that I made was with a sport weight yarn and a, I don't know, it was like a D, 3 something millimeter. And it came out fairly small. And I think that that's what the designer initially had. So she has very small pumpkins. This one is quite a bit larger than that first one that I made. Ah, come on, go through. We're almost done. Oh, then what is the 9? Hold on. So I got all my hooks in here. Oh, it's just a different size. I don't know what the number means. So yes, I9 is 5.25 millimeters. So this is what's recommended for this yarn. And so I went down by 2 sizes? 2 sizes. I don't know where to put this. Okay. Look, it looks like a butt. Yeah, man, if you used like a super bulky yarn, you could make something to sit on. Though I wouldn't recommend putting a cinnamon stick in the middle because that might go in places where you don't want to. It wouldn't be very, very comfortable. Okay, so I'm on the very last one because so you can look and see very closely that there's a little loop over the ones I've already worked. And so I have just this one left. Hi, Mipe.
One moment.
What?
Yes.
No, Siri, I'm not talking to you. Welcome to the flock. Oh my god, guys. We only need one more follower. Yeah, that cinnamon stick's going in places. Places you don't want it to go. You might want to consider putting something softer at the top. But it could be cute if you made it into like an ottoman or something. Okay, so we've gone all the way. We're totally cinched up. We have a beautiful pumpkin shape now. So once you're at the bottom, just try to smush it down and work in to one of the loops on the outside here to make another knot, just to make sure that that doesn't come undone. It's really, you can really abuse it. We're just going to make a little knot. Whoop. And then I'm going to take the yarn up the middle one more time. If you end up doing that, Panda, I want to see it. I think it would look very cool. Go up. So I'm literally just coming up the middle now. I'm just coming right at the butt. Through the anus. And then I'm going to cut it. So I had way more of a tail than you actually need. I'm going to cut that, and you won't see it because it's going to have a cinnamon stick glued over the top of it. Okay, so this part's done, and you can, like, you know, squish it to make sure it's the shape that you want. It's very soft with a nice little butthole in the middle. And then this is what the other side looks like. It's all cinched in there. Coming up the butt. You should clip that, where it has me saying I'm coming up the butt. All right, so there's our little butt, and this is the hole where we're going to stick our cinnamon stick that we measured from before. And so if you see, I can just stick it right in there. But I don't want a stem that's that long. So the first thing we need to do is to cut it or break it. I think I should be able to break it. Maybe. Perfect. So all I did was to snap that off at the top. So I'm actually going to take the cut side and push that down in there. But before we do that, we need to make our little vine. So you want to take some of the wire. So it's just paper coated wire. Cut that off. And I'm going to need my pen. Let me go run and get my pen real quick. So I have found for this size pumpkin, a fine tip Sharpie marker is precisely the right diameter to produce the perfect curlicue for this. Ugh. So let's do this. So what I do is I'm going to hold the two ends of this wire together and get to the middle, pull it a little bit, and I'm going to stick my cinnamon stick in there, and then I'm going to wrap it around very tightly because I don't want it coming undone. Wrap that around that way, and this way, and then when I get back to the middle, I'm going to twist it like that and have these go off the side. And then I'm just going to take a drop of glue, and I'm using this Gorilla Super Glue. You can use any quick drying glue. I like this one, and again, Gorilla is not paying me, but because it has these little squeezies on the side. And so it's a lot easier to control than some tubes of super glue are. Except that, look at that, it just, the whole thing just came off. That's no good. Well, that's embarrassing. There, now the top's coming off. That's what we want it to do. So I'm going to put a drop of glue just right where I attached that. It's going to smell a little bit like glue at first. And then before I attach it, I'm going to use my Sharpie to try not to glue my finger here. I'm going to wrap it around here. And then just around and around to make my nice spiral. This is so fun. I love being crafty. I'm going to have to look at that clip in a second. So see, now I've got the perfect spiral, and then I can mess with it afterward, pull it out, and you know, bend it to the right shape. Got a lot of product placement in this video. I'm not being paid by any of these manufacturers, just so you know. Okay, so you just wrap it around your Sharpie marker to get the perfect spiral. Okay, so then we're gonna glue the butt. So we're gonna put some glue on our anus here, our little pumpkin anus, all the way around the magic ring, just like that. So that's all glue in there. And then I'm going to take the bottom part that I cut off. I'm going to push it down in, and then I'm just going to hold it for a second. And I'm actually putting quite a lot of pressure on it because I want it to stay in there. Magic ring anus. And there, it's already pretty much cured. Now, it's not going to dry completely. It'll probably take 15 minutes or so. And then you just mess with your curlicues to like get them however you want. Like that. And it's done. Look at that pumpkin. I mean really. Is that not perfect? So, and then if you smell it, it smells like glue. But once the glue has dried, it will smell like cinnamon. And if you, like I said, once the cinnamon stick's been sitting around for a while, it's not going to smell so much. So you could just scratch the stem to bring the smell out again. But right now it smells like glue, and I'm getting a little high. So anyway, yeah, that's super easy to make. You can't see the stuffing through it. It's very cute. And this is, again, so this is just your regular worsted weight yarn with a 4.25 millimeter hook. And you can make it bigger or smaller depending on the weight of the yarn that you use. This is just a nice size to like put on your mantle or something. I want to try doing one with just some thread, some crochet thread, and see if I can get some really tiny ones. But this is actually pretty close in comparison to some of the gourds that I got from the cider mill that I have outside. So yeah, so there you go. Isn't it cute? Oh, so this is where the seam is. You can see the seam is right here. Actually, it looks like I messed up on the seam a little bit, but it's going to be at the back, so if I turn it around, you can't even see it. So I have to let the dogs in. I will be right back. See if we can get one more follower. One more follower. All right, so that's all I have for today. At least that's what I was going to work on. Yeah, one more follower, and then I'll do, I don't remember how to do it. I have to go remind myself, because you can do giveaways where basically everyone gets a certain number of tokens, and then you enter that way. I don't have enough people, and I think this is true for most crafty streamers. We don't normally have enough people on at a given time to do like a big giveaway. So I'm going to do one that's offline, but what I'll do is end up posting it to my channel so that, and I'll keep it up for a week or so. So you can go on there, you'll have a certain number of tokens or something that you can throw in the pot, and then the next time, well, after we get my goal, then I'll do a, I'll pull from the number of people who entered, and we'll do it that way. Yeah, I think you can do it on Discord. I don't remember how I did it before. I've done it a couple other times, but I think Streamlabs does one or something. I'll figure it out. So, what else can I show you? So yeah, oh, okay, since I have some people here, I recently wrote a pattern for a scarf. Where is it? It is over here. And if you're interested in the whole story of this, basically I went to Target and saw that they had some knitted scarves there, and the pattern looked really easy. So I was like, oh, I could totally, and I don't know if you guys do this, I do this all the time. Either I'll see somebody wearing something, or I'll go to the store and I'll see something that's been quite clearly produced by a machine, and think, I don't have to buy that because I could make it, right? So I took a picture of it, and basically, what is the word I'm looking for? Reverse engineered the pattern. But as I was looking at the picture, I found that there are all kind of mistakes in it, in the scarf. So it's a scarf, very simple scarf with a cable running up the middle, and the cable was all kinds of screwed up. So not only was I like, I'm gonna figure out what the pattern is for this scarf and write it down, I'm going to make it better. So this is what I'm working on currently. Let's move the pumpkin out of the way. You move over there. So, oops, I just dropped the ball on the floor. Okay, so this is the beginnings of the scarf. It's got a nice tubular cast on. Let's get it towards the center. Here we go. And it's got a cable running up the center. It's just got a garter panel here, and then some simple stockinette on the edges to keep it flat. And this is essentially what the pattern was on the scarf at the store, only it didn't have this. I added this 1x1 rib with the tubular cast on, mostly because I'm super into tubular cast on these days. The point why I'm showing you this is because I'm looking for test knitters So if you're interested in getting a free pattern, and what I do for my test knitters is once you finish the pattern and give me feedback on any mistakes that you find, I will put your name in the pattern and on Ravelry as one of the test knitters, so you'll be sort of famous. And I'll also include the picture of your finished product as one of the examples on the Ravelry page. So if anyone's interested in doing that, you can go to my Twitter or you know, hit me up on Discord, and I will send you a link to the pattern as it is now. It's not complete because I don't have pictures for it or anything. If that's something that's interesting. So, and the other thing that you get out of it is a free pattern, because this is something that I'm going to put up on Ravelry once it's done, and I'm going to charge a few bucks for it, I think, because I don't have a job. So I'm living totally off of my husband these days. So yeah, so it's just a super simple pattern. I mean, you could probably figure it out yourself, but if you don't want to figure it out yourself and you just want to follow the pattern that I've figured out for it, then go ahead and hit me up and I will send that to you. It's really simple. The only things you need to know how to knit and purl. You don't have to do the tubular cast on that I used. You could just use a regular cast on. That's fine. And you do need to know how to do a cable. So this is the cable that I chose to do because I already created a hat for my daughter using this yarn, which is Lion Brand Scarfy. It's a nice ombre yarn. That's like it's a wool and acrylic blend. It's actually quite soft and stretchy. And so she wanted a scarf to match the hat, and so then I asked her, well, what kind of cable do you want? And she wanted X's and O's going up the center. But you can really do any cable that you're interested in. So that's available if anyone's interested. I have another pattern that I wrote for a what I'm calling a leaves and moss cowl. See that? I'm going to show it real quick. I wrote the pattern and then never knitted it up. So if you're interested in that one, then you know, I can also, I'm looking for test knitters for that one too. So anyway, yeah. So I don't really have anything else unless anyone wants to talk about stuff. Finished my pumpkin. So I'm going to be giving this to my friend Lisa when I see her this weekend in Minneapolis. So we are both going up there to take a workshop on carving spoons. So I'm going to learn how to carve spoons. And I have a lot of trees on the property that I want to cut down. So I've got a lot of wood that I can be turning into spoons. Maybe I'll even, I could do a live stream on carving spoons. I don't know. Still smells like glue. So, but you can see, I mean, it's in there. It's pretty much, it's, even though the glue is not 100% dry, it's not coming out. It's in the butt quite securely. All right. Well, so I've been recording for 3 hours. It's 2 o'clock here. I have a vet appointment in about an hour. So I think I'm gonna go. I mean, I could work on this pattern a little bit. I could work on the scarf a little bit since I'm just sitting here. But I'm gonna go very soon. I also should probably try to eat something more than just a granola bar, huh? I was hoping we'd be able to get one more follower before I go. I gotta keep the pumpkin in the frame, huh? It is hard to knit in front of the camera because my knitting needles keep on hitting the table. Here, I have a question for y'all. So, I need to start making my Christmas gifts. So what would you like to see, or what would you want if somebody was going to give you a crocheted thing as a keychain, because I got all these things to make keychains for Christmas gifts. So my idea was to do like little sushis, little amigurumi sushi. But maybe not everyone wants sushi on a keychain. So what other things could I do that are smallish that would make a good keychain? And I can do some on stream too. Any ideas? I could do little stars. I have, last year I bought some Aunt Lydia's, is that what it's called? Is it really called Aunt Lydia? No. You know the crochet yarn, crochet thread. Anyway, I have some that's yellow, but it's got, it's like a gold tinsel that runs through it. So it's very sparkly. I could do stars. It's called Aunt Lydia. There's two things funny about that. Aunt Lydia is from The Handmaid's Tale. But it's also what I named one of my sheep. I named one of them Aunt Lydia from The Handmaid's Tale. And the other one is Agnes Jemima from, well, Margaret Atwood wrote a sequel to The Handmaid's Tale called The Testaments. And one of the characters' names is Agnes Jemima, and it turns out that the name Agnes means lamb. I thought that is a perfect sheep's name. So my sheep are Lydia and Agnes. Before you think I'm bonkers, I also named my daughter after a character in The Handmaid's Tale. Her name is Moira. So, but yeah, so I could do stars. Little stuffed stars. And I want to do little sushi guys. Mostly for my daughter because I think she'd get a kick out of that. And I've got like all the little eyeballs and beads and stuff that you can imagine, so I can do lots of different things. The other thing that I need to do is I need to start developing an inventory so that I'm going to do like I don't want to go through Etsy, but I'm developing my website right now for the business, and I want to have as part of that a virtual storefront so that people can order things. So, and in order to do that, I need to have some inventory. But I also need to develop inventory because a few times a year here there are craft shows, and so I want to be able to take things to the craft shows and sell them. And so I think if I had a lot of little things that were quick, not only would those make for good Christmas gifts for people, but then also I could sell them. These long ass needles keep on hitting the table. I'm trying to keep my arms up. Keep your elbows up. Probably I don't need to be zoomed in so far, huh? Whoa. There. How's that? Okay, let's see how far I've gone here. You have to keep track of when the next cable is coming up, and so I'm nowhere near there yet, so I'm good. That's the other nice thing about writing your own patterns is that you memorize them pretty easily. And this is a pretty easy pattern. I just need to make it go for like 6 feet, so. Oh no, it's stuck to my pumpkin. Get out of the way, pumpkin. There. I'm really impressed that I followed that, or finished the pumpkin on stream. Thought it was going to take me longer. Okay, well, it's 2 o'clock here. I'm going to go get, make myself a sandwich, I think. I probably shouldn't drink more coffee, even though I would love to drink more coffee. And, okay, so once again, if you're interested in being a test knitter for this pattern, let me know. You can contact me on Twitter in my DM. My DMs are open. You can contact me on Discord. Just go to the bottom of this page and you'll see links for those. So contact me about that and I will send you a link to the Google Doc. And then you can also, that way, if you come across an error or something, you can give me feedback on that. Yeah, tell your friends. We need 1 more follower and then we'll be able to do a giveaway. Once that happens, I will be providing information about how to get in on that. I'm also going to be posting this video and all my other videos to YouTube, and I'll be providing a link to that on this page as well, so that if you want to see past videos that I've done, for instance, a couple days ago I was spinning this yarn. So I made this. This was a 30% merino wool and, no, 70% merino wool, 30% silk from Paradise Yarns, and I spun that on stream. And I also have some videos of just doing different chores on the farm. I'll be making more of those once I get a better camera. Yeah. So, and if anyone ever has any questions about living on a farm or permaculture or knitting and crocheting or has ideas for things I should do for my classes, I'm open to all of that stuff. So maybe we'll even do like an online Stitch and Bitch. Maybe we can set something up there. So great. So thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you guys all again hopefully real soon. Bye.